You know what you should do. You've got the plan, the strategy, the commitment. You're going to finally make that change. And then something happens. You get triggered, you react, and suddenly you're back to your old patterns. Wondering what the hell just happened. It's not that you don't want it badly enough, you're just dealing with something much deeper. Your core conflicts and emotional triggers that have been running your life since childhood. Well, let me ask you something. Have you ever noticed you keep having the same argument with different people, or the same argument with the same people, or that you keep finding yourself in similar frustrating situations despite changing your job, changing cities, changing relationships? Well, that's not coincidence, my friend. There's core conflicts at work. So, what are core conflicts? They are patterns of consciousness that lie underneath the surface. You're not aware they're there, but they shape how you view and respond to the world. The roots of these conflicts usually go back to childhood. Some moment when we first felt unsafe, perhaps, unloved, or not seen. And from that moment on, we develop these beliefs and patterns that we've been carrying ever since. There are three core conflicts that show up most often. Number one is the fear of abandonment. It's like if people really knew me, they'll leave. Also known as, imposter syndrome. Number two, fear of not being enough. I have to prove myself all the time. Three, fear of losing control. If I'm not in control, everything will fall apart. I know what this feels like. For years, decades, I'd make great progress on building my business or my department, and then sabotage would kick right in. Just when things are taking off, something was holding me back, but I couldn't quite name what it was. These core conflicts don't just sit there quietly. They create emotional triggers, situations or interactions that set us off in ways that they seem disproportionate to what actually happened. Let's take an example. Your colleague makes an offhand comment, and suddenly you become furious inside of you. Or your spouse or your significant other asks a simple question, and you feel attacked. Your boss gives you feedback, and you spend the next 3 days brooding and spiraling out of control. The trigger isn't really about what just happened. It's just about the same old wound that just got poked. There's a 5-step self-sabotage cycle. Here's exactly how it works. 1, an event happens. Something or someone says something or does. Your core conflict interprets that event through your old wounds and beliefs. Then, step 3, you have an emotional reaction. Defensive, angry, withdrawn perhaps. 4, you then respond from that triggered state instead of your best self. And then 5, that response creates an outcome that confirms your original core conflict. So this cycle of self-fulfilling prophecy just simply continues because your fear of abandonment makes you act in ways that you push people away, which confirms that you'll be abandoned. This keeps going. You see, here's something crucial. Events themselves are neutral. What determines whether something is good or bad for you is the meaning you give it. So two people could have the same critical feedback from their boss, for example. One walks away thinking that's helpful guidance for them and makes improvements. And the other goes into shame and spirals into anger for days. Same event, completely different responses. Why? Because of the meaning that each person assigned based on their own core conflicts or core beliefs. You see, your closest relationships are the mirrors. They show you exactly what you need to heal. People closest to you, your spouse, your business partner, your best friend, they're going to trigger your childhood wounds more than anyone else. And that's not an accident. That is universe being thorough. Whatever you did not resolve as a child, you're going to encounter in your most important adult relationships. The people triggering you aren't your enemies, they're your teachers. So, how do you break free from these patterns? 3 steps. Number 1 is awareness. You cannot change what you cannot see. When you start paying attention to when you get triggered or what situations or people specifically consistently trigger you, what meaning you give to these events, these are the clues to becoming more aware. Second, between the trigger and the response, you have that space that you can create. When you notice you're being triggered inside of you, take 3 deep breaths. Ask yourself, is this really about what just happened, or is it just about an old wound? Then ask yourself, what would my highest self do to respond to the situation? 3, keep a trigger journal. You know I'm big on journals, right? Just keep a journal for 1 week. Every time you get triggered, write down what just happened. Just the facts. What meaning did you give it? And what old wound did it trigger? What did it remind you of? And how did you respond? What outcome did that create? After a week, you'll see your own pattern. The same core conflicts showing up again and again. That awareness is the beginning of your freedom from the trigger. You see, no one should have to carry these wounds for decades, right? It's exhausting to constantly work against yourself. These conflicts were survival strategies when you were young. But the problem is you're not that vulnerable child anymore. You're an adult with resources and power. But your nervous system doesn't know that yet. So when you get triggered, you're experiencing that fear you felt as a child. Have compassion for that child and recognize that you can choose differently now. So let's apply this week, practically speaking. 3 things. 1, notice your triggers. What situations or people are triggering you consistently? Number 2, practice the pause. Take 3 deep breaths before responding when you're triggered. Remember, you always have that control. You can be quiet. That pause is very important. 3, start your trigger journal. Track what happened, what meaning you gave it, and what old wound did it trigger. Just seeing that pattern itself will give you the power over it. See, core conflicts and emotional triggers aren't character flaws, my friend. They're simply unhealed wounds asking for attention. The goal is not never to get triggered. Of course not. The goal is to recognize what's happening and choose your response instead of reacting automatically. When you start doing this work, your relationships will completely transform. Your business decisions will improve, and your peace of mind will increase. Because you're no longer controlled by patterns from the past. You're responding from who you are now, not who you were when you first got hurt. If you're ready to do this deeper work, my Purpose Over Pressure course addresses these very issues. You will find that in the show notes below. Next week, how to have hard conversations without avoiding them, creating depth in relationships instead of staying on the surface. Until then, pay attention to what triggers you. Those triggers show you exactly where your growth edge is. This is Raju. Stay bold, stay conscious, my friend.